Hey y'all, welcome back to the
Welcome.
Kobby and Kukua podcast. My name is Kukua. I'm here with my husband Kobby.
Hello.
And we have an exciting episode today.
Yes, this episode we are going to be debunking some of the myths that are out there, whether it's Christian myths or just myths in general in marriage. And we're just going to have a look at it from our perspective. And if you have any other opinions or anything else, you're more than welcome to write in the comments.
We want to
and
hear
we'll be
from
happy
you.
to hear from you and to interact with you. So yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest myths that I had, and for anyone who's been with me from back in the day before I got married, I remember doing this video about how to, I've forgotten the title, but it was basically how to keep yourself before marriage. Why did you screw your face?
No, because I'm thinking just
I was talking about how to basically like save yourself before marriage, or what it takes. Yeah, around that topic. You know what I mean? Like not having sex before marriage. And you know, like I'm thinking Christian girl, like, yeah, I've done things the right way, never had sex before getting married. So whoop, I'm about to push and just have like a swell of a time. But the truth is Christian couples do have some challenges with sexual intimacies.
Yeah.
Just because we have, you know, different life experiences. Some people have come in with like trauma. Some people have come in with poor perceptions. That you have Christians who have been exposed to, let's say, porn and stuff like that, and have their mindset about sex just broken or not put in the right way, and so they come into the marriage with so many expectations with their sexual life, and then realize that okay, in the real world you cannot be having sex for 4 hours. Like that's not possible.
I think it's just a thing of everyone has a different experience when it comes to sex. Some people who have done it, some people who haven't done it, some people who have done it, but again, the porn thing and unrealistic expectations, just from talking to friends and stuff like that. So everyone has their own thing, and they're all coming into, you know, everyone feels like, you know, when you have sex, it's all going to be roses and dramatic and, you know, but I think it's still best, and it's always right to wait before marriage. I would always I would always
it's the right
say
thing
it's
to
the
do.
right thing to do. But even people who have kept themselves still have different experiences.
That's what I was saying. Like the fact that you've kept yourself does not mean that you're going to have a bliss with your sexual life.
Like it's a learning curve.
It's a learning curve.
And I think...
Can I tell the story?
Which one?
Let me cut you off.
No, you can't tell that story.
I'm going to tell.
No, you can't tell that story.
No.
I think you've said it before in one of
Have I?
I think you
For
have.
those who didn't watch that episode, I think it's useful for this particular one. I remember the first night, our first... He's laughing. I've said it before, so
I know. That's it, go for it.
But the first night, I remember because I've never done it before, so I had really crazy expectations, and of course from like scenes that I've seen on TV and things that people have spoken about. So I had some crazy expectations, and I remember you had, I think you brought like your gym set.
Yeah.
So it was, what was that thing called?
Like the resistant bands.
Resistant bands. And it was colorful. I remember it was like you had different colors.
Yeah, for different strengths.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So I must have gone in your bag to pick up something, and then I saw it and I was thinking, ooh, it's gonna get freaky. I thought he brought ropes to tie me up.
But you know what? And it just shows, because in my mind, I could have done that.
Yeah, but of course, but you knew that.
In my mind, it was, okay, cool, this is her first time. Don't freak her out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Don't freak out. Don't worry her. Don't think like you're not about to come into your first time and just start tying people up. Do you know what I mean? Like, what kind of first time is that? You know. So I didn't even make any serious plans, and I wanted you to take your time. And for you to be ready. Because I remember I didn't really make a move the first night. I kind of waited for you to give like a. I kind of waited for you to give like a massive hint to say, okay, cool.
Like I'm ready for it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't like try and jump on it.
You.
Do you know what I mean? So everyone has their different experience, and everyone just has their different thing. So in conclusion, so that we can move on to the next myth, we can stay on this forever, I know that. But everyone's lives is different, just as it is with every area of marriage.
Yeah, because I was going to say,
experiences.
Even with relation to your schedules,
Yeah,
like work can take a toll on your sexual intimacy.
Yeah.
If you've got kids, it can take its own toll on your sexual intimacy. Even like your personal, things that you might be going through personal, like you might be going through a season of grief that could affect that.
Yeah.
So there's no, it's never true that as soon as you get married, then it's all bliss. It's something that every couple has to be intentional about working through.
And communicate about it, talk
Communication.
about it. Let people know how you feel about it. If you're worried about something, let people know. If you're frustrated or something, let people know. And have a good time. I mean, it's there for it to be enjoyed. Yeah. I heard somewhere that not in the Bible it wasn't mentioned. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say it because I don't want to misquote it. But in the Bible, it never mentions sex for childbearing. In the mindset that we always have the mindset of we should only have sex if we only. When you're younger, you only have sex when you want to have children, kind of thing. Sex is always for pleasure. Has always been, and childbearing is one of the things that come out of it. So don't go into it thinking that you're only going to enjoy yourself when you're ready to have kids, kind of thing. So have a good time, enjoy it. It creates intimacy, it brings you together, but communicate and talk because you're both coming from different backgrounds and both coming from different perspectives. But as long as you build together, you'll be fine.
Another myth I want to debunk is that as a Christian couple, praying together solves everything.
That would be easy.
We'll just pray our whole lives then.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And I find that people in relationships have this, when they're dating, in the dating phase, they have this, we don't pray together. We don't pray as much, so I don't feel like he's the right person for me. I've always said, you're not going to marry a prayer warrior.
Yeah.
When you're marrying someone, you're marrying a human being. Yeah. I'm always with my husband as Kobby is seeing it.
Yeah.
We're still with the respect of you being in the office of a pastor and stuff like that. I still see you as a man first.
Yeah.
And sometimes people think, as long as you pray together, everything is going to be fine. No, you could be praying together and still be very broke.
Yeah.
You could be praying together and still have practical day-to-day challenges, So, I would say, whilst it's good that you both have a spiritual bond, you must understand the principles of marriage.
Yeah.
And it's not prayer, when we're talking about marriage as Christ describes for, the church, it speaks a lot on sacrifice. That's one of the foundational principles for marriage. And if you always have the mindset like everything is spiritual, it's not going to work out the way you think it should. Yeah,
I think it's not just a problem in marriages it's a general problem in certain aspects of Christianity where, as powerful as prayer is, which prayer is very powerful for yourself, it's powerful for others, it's powerful for, like in general. Yeah, it's not
it doesn't answer all things.
100% resolution. Yeah, do you know what I mean? There are certain parts of your life where you actually need to do something
practical.
Do you know
steps.
what I mean? Like you can't pray for your room to be tidy. You can't pray for yourself to have good hygiene. You can't pray for certain things.
You can't pray to get money.
Exactly. If you don't clean up yourself properly, you don't groom properly, if you don't, shower properly, and you're praying for a wife, you're making the job really, really hard for God right now. Well, there's nothing too hard for God. Let me not say it like that. But that's what I'm saying. You should be praying on yourself and say, Lord, give me wisdom on what I should do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is very interesting that a lot of things that in life we make very spiritual and emotional, in the Bible has a lot to do with action. Love is an action. Obedience is not just a feeling. Forgiveness is not just a feeling. It's all of these things are things that actions that are to do with it. So prayer is one aspect, but don't oversimplify it and say that, I've prayed about it, so I'm just gonna no. In the waiting season, there is something that you can do in order for that to get resolved.
Yeah, that's really good. And I would always say that, practical ways that Christians can really get answers to their situations is, when you pray, prayer might be the starting point.
Yeah.
But when you pray, God is going to give you wisdom and clarity on practical steps to pray.
Yeah.
So, I mean, practical steps to take. So we're not saying that praying throughout your marriage cannot solve the issues, but prayer becomes the channel through which you get answers to practically do things.
Yeah.
So we do encourage prayer. I mean, we pray together quite a bit as a couple, but we know that ultimately we must be taking the steps.
I mean, after you finish praying, you sit down and you say, okay, what should we do about it?
Yeah. When you finish falling down and you wake up,
that's what I'm saying.
Do something.
Did you
hear from God?
What did God say? What should we do? You know, I mean, there's times where God will say to David, leave the army to me, I'll sort it out. And there was times where God said to David, okay, go out and fight the battle. Yeah. So like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to actually do?
So more than wanting to pray, you should want answers that come from praying.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. And there's also this myth that having children can fix a struggling marriage.
Ooh. Having children would destroy a already struggling marriage. It can make it. Okay, let me not
say will, but it has the potential.
It has the potential. Okay, how do I put this? If your marriage is struggling, to introduce a child into it
is another level.
Exactly,
it's another level that you're going to.
The only thing that sometimes it does, it masks over the problem.
Yeah.
Because number one, you have something else to look after. Number two,
you have a good distraction.
You have something else to do. Yeah, like
it's a good distraction.
Like, you have an issue of spending time with your wife, and then you'll make it about the kids. Yeah. So you don't want to spend time with your wife, but you'll spend time with the kids.
Yeah.
Or you'll give the wife the kids so that you can have time. But like, it will just mask problems. I feel like issues need to be resolved directly before introducing children.
Exactly. You need to fix and address the foundational issues in the marriage before introducing kids. And one of the things that I find is raising kids or bringing kids into a family brings a whole new dynamic.
So different.
It's a whole new level of, don't get me wrong, children are a blessing. The Bible says that children are a gift from God, and a man whose quiver is filled with them is blessed. But it's a blessing that comes with a responsibility, and it's a whole new dynamic that your marriage experiences when you have kids. I don't even want to say the stress levels, but your commitment. Now your time is divided. Your attention is divided. Your finances are divided. I mean, in every sense of, your whole being becomes divided because you have to share that with your children. So as much as, you will have the Google Gaga stage where you're playing with the kids, throwing them up in the air. That it's all cool until you realize that this is a whole human being that I need to raise.
And introducing children to that is not fair on them either. Because you will start doing, like, for example, if the mum is getting close to the children and her and the husband is not getting along, and then you go to the child and you start saying, your dad did this, your dad did this. It makes you feel better, but really there's a problem, and it's a toxic environment to have to raise kids in. So make sure that a lot of the things and a lot of the issues that you have are worked on or have been acknowledged, and is currently being worked. I'm not saying like wait till everything's perfect before you have kids, but address the certain issues and ask yourself if you're having kids just to distract yourself from those issues, because having kids too soon can be detrimental to the marriage.
When the marriage is struggling,
especially when the marriage is struggling. Even people who are fine tend to get into having kids and still go into like struggling mode where they don't get much time to spend with each other, and the dynamics of them going out and doing other things have changed, and kids have been introduced into the picture. Financially, things have changed. Emotionally, things have changed. You're not just for each other anymore. The kids are in the picture, and so on and so forth. So you just have to communicate, and you have to be together before you bring kids into the picture, and or actively be working on the issues rather than cover it up with children.
And I think the essence of marriage is partnership for a lifetime. And the truth is, you can use the kids to mask whatever you're going through in that season, but there is going to come a point in time where your kids will grow up, get married, and leave the house. And then when they're
issues
out,
start coming back.
the issues start coming back
vengeance.
because you never face those issues. You masked it with busyness with the kids and, taking them to school and doing all the things that you had to do. When they're married and they're out of the house, you realize that, oh crap, we actually didn't deal with our relationship and the issues that we were facing.
And you never spent time with each other. Some couples don't spend time with each other.
Yeah.
And the kids are the reason why. And then when the kids leave
they
and
don't
go
know what
to
to
uni
do
or
with
something,
themselves.
it's like, all of a sudden you're like roommates.
Yep.
You don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. This is the part where we would like to take a break just to talk to you and let you know we need you to subscribe and like and share and let people know more about this podcast so that we can be effective in everything that we do and just share the good news of God everywhere we go. Also, this is your chance to write down in your comments below of some of the myths that you have heard yourself that you would like to debunk. Maybe we'll address it in the next podcast and maybe we'll pick it up and answer any questions that you have asked later on. We are looking forward to hear from you. Take care and back to the podcast.
I want to hit one last one, maybe one or one more. But there is a myth that divorce is never an option.
Okay.
In a Christian marriage.
Yeah.
Like, there is a myth that once you marry as a Christian, divorce is never an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say before we go into it is that, and this is just a caveat, we do not condone
divorce really is not an option in the grand scheme of things.
We don't say that, don't look at it as an option, especially before you go into the marriage.
Yeah.
Certain people have that mindset. If it doesn't work out, I could just leave. It's if you have that mindset, maybe you shouldn't be going in the first place. Maybe you need to take some time and think and be sure. Do you know what I mean? So we don't believe, especially in our marriage, that we have that option because we are going all out. And we have said, that's it. Yeah. We don't want to put that in our minds. We don't want to think, anything like that. In our marriage, there's no such thing.
Yeah.
We're locked in. That's it. No one else is coming in the picture. No one else is anywhere till death do us part. Yeah. That's it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But the truth is, we have seen Christian marriages that have ended in divorce.
And some of them, to be fair, when you hear the reasons and the things behind it, you think, fair enough.
I think essentially it just goes back to what you said with before you get married. If the foundation is not right, 100% it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're both tongue speaking, you both believe in God. If the foundation of your marriage isn't right, you're going to have struggles.
Yeah.
There are people who have come into marriages, Christian marriages, with a lot of emotional bondages, things that they haven't fixed as individuals, personal traumas. They've come into the marriage with a poor perspective on what the marriage is. You'd be surprised how there are Christians who think it has to be 50-50.
Yeah.
And you have to complete me. And so in the areas that I'm lacking, that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
So when I'm feeling lonely, you're supposed to cover my loneliness. And when I don't have finances, you're supposed to cover that. And, people come into marriage with the wrong perspective and the wrong ideologies. And because the foundation is wrong, the inevitable is bound to happen. So the truth is, every marriage takes work and takes commitment. And the fact that you're a Christian does not take you off that requirement or that necessary step to make sure that the marriage works. Every marriage requires, whether in the world, whether in Christianity, it takes a lot of commitment and hard work to make the marriage work. And that's why you'd be surprised that there are people who aren't Christian that apply biblical principles without knowing it, but they apply biblical principles and their marriages work. But then you have Christians who are not applying biblical principles and then expect the marriage to work. You know what I'm saying? So there's that myth that, once we're Christians, it's always going to work out. But I think the fundamental thing is you have to really do marriage God's way and follow biblical principles.
Look at the foundation, make sure everything's done. I mean, there are certain people that go in without the foundation and then later on realize that, we need to fix it.
Yeah.
And have managed to go back to the roots and say, okay, what did we not get right in the first place? What was our mindset that we went in with? And how can we fix it? So there is nothing that is unfixable or too far gone.
Yeah.
So before you even start thinking about it, I will recommend 100% counseling, praying together. I'll recommend, speaking to someone with wisdom, someone who will mentor you, someone who will help you, and have all of those things in place.
Yeah.
And I would also recommend that get someone who is in authority in terms of spiritual authority.
That you're accountable to.
That you're accountable to. Both of you are accountable to then condone and say, okay, cool, I feel like it's time for you to, rather than making the decision yourself. I'm not saying let them make the decision and say that yes, so that, do you know what I mean? I'm saying that they should be able to say, all right, I understand. Do you understand? They're not the ones making the decision, but they understand what you guys are going through.
I found like situations where pastors have sort of like allowed people to get a divorce is when the two people cannot come to a mutual understanding.
Yeah, and it's very clear. Like,
it's so clear they just don't understand each other. And you can't make someone understand someone else. Yeah. And someone said something which I found so powerful, that every marriage can work if one person is willing to make it work. Every and any marriage can work if one person is willing to make it work. There are a lot of factors which comes to like the time when it's gonna fall in place, how it's gonna fall in place, but essentially if one person is committed to it, it's gonna work out. I really love this movie, Fireproof. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I really love that movie. It just shows the power of willingness and one person willing to do everything that it takes to make the marriage work, even when the circumstances don't look
unfavorable
and it looks like this is just done. God is so gracious, he's so merciful, and I think there's no marriage that is too far gone. There's nothing that God cannot fix or reconcile, but it has to be done the right way.
I think if you put the effort in, I know that everyone's gonna have great marriages. And through all of these things, just having a look at it, I just want to mention lastly that before you get into marriage, please go through counseling. Do your research. Do your due diligence. Have a look. I always struggle with that word. I'm so proud I said it. I'm not even gonna try again. But do it, and you will not regret it. I'll always recommend going through counseling. I always recommend speaking to people, knowing your roles, knowing what part you play, knowing what God has put you in the marriage for, what is your purpose within it, how you can help each other, how you can strengthen each other, how kids change. Like, we look at all of these things in marriage counseling, how kids change the dynamics, what you should expect after you have kids, what is your responsibility with the kids, all of these things are things that you will look at in marriage, and it will debunk all of these other things that are out there, especially in Christian marriages, and help you get to a stage where you're more comfortable and not surprised by some of the things that come up. We go through counseling with some of our members, and it either exposes their weaknesses and certain weak, not as a couple, but within themselves and some of the mindsets that they brought into it, or it makes them stronger as they are. It's like confirmation of what they're in the right direction. So I'll always recommend go through counseling, speak to someone, do your research, don't go in blindly, because marriage is not a thing that you should just take lightly and go through emotionally. Go through it, and then I'm sure you'll come out the other side stronger.
And I think marriage really doesn't complete anyone. Someone might say, I'm looking for someone who completes me, but you must be very whole in yourself. You must be full in yourself. You must know who you are. You must know your identity. You must know your purpose. You would find that some people even hide behind marriage because they haven't figured out who they are.
Yeah.
So they hide behind maybe their husband's identity and just tag along as Mrs., for example, Mrs. Esihine.
Yeah.
But before I was Mrs. Esihine, God knew me and he knew my name and he had a plan for me and he had a purpose for me and he had things that he had ordained me for. And it's important that I discover those things even before I come into partnership with you.
Yeah.
Because when I'm able to walk on that path, then I can become a better version of myself and I can become all that God wants me to be, but sometimes people feel, I'm getting into marriage to become a better person, or I'm getting into marriage to unlock this new layer of Mrs. XYZ, But marriage really never completes you. If anything, marriage exposes you. It exposes who you are. It exposes your flaws, your inadequacies. It shows you who you really are, the areas that you're really struggling that you need, an improvement. It really, really does expose who you are. So it's essential that before you get into marriage, you're complete in yourself, and more importantly, complete in your identity, who you are. And I think that way you only come together as one powerful unit. But
thank you. That was a good episode. I enjoyed that. If there's anyone there, again, if you have any comments, any myths that you have, any questions that you have, feel free to write it in the comments. Let us know. We'll be happy to interact with you and let you know how we feel about certain things and the truth about certain things. And we're looking forward to seeing you on the next podcast. Take care and bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.